There we go. So first, I want to apologize for the last 2 weeks. I wasn't able to join, but things happened, which is great, and there was a meeting, anyways. So thank you for taking the lead on that, and I don't have any strong topics aside from the coupled dev days is soon, and I would like to let Matt talk about it a little bit.
Sorry, what was the question?
Am I choppy?
No, you sound fine. Matt,
oh, okay. All right, this is awesome. Matt, I'm just asking about an update on the couple dev days. If you want to give an update on how things are going and what's next, and if we can help with anything.
Sure, absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay? So decoupled dev days, we have closed session submissions, and we've selected all of our speakers at this point. I think we've announced most of them, but the full schedule will be coming out this week. So keep an eye out for that. Registration is open. We still have a few tickets left. So if you're planning on attending, you should go ahead and grab a ticket soon. They'll probably sell out pretty quickly. And the big thing we can use help with right now is sponsorships. We have a few more sponsorship slots open. I'm happy to send information to people. And also, if you are going to be there and you're interested in doing any volunteering the day of the event, we do need some help with just logistical stuff for the day of the event. But overall, things are looking really good. We're excited. And thanks for the shout out on the Drupal Easy podcast, Ted.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, no problem.
You can tell that came from his heart because he didn't even remember it. Cool, thank you. I'm really excited. I will be able to make it. So I wasn't expecting. So yeah. So I would like to know a little bit. I've been a little bit disconnected lately. What has been happening in core REST land? Wim, if you have anything to report or to say?
So lately I have been not very focused on REST myself because I've been helping out with helping get experimental modules to a point where they're stable. So helping out with media settings, tray, and so on. However, there have been some good things happening. The only kind of big thing I think that has actually been committed in the past few weeks is that test coverage has been improved so that when you're actually modifying entities in general via REST, so patching or posting, we now verify that every single field that you sent in your request body actually is also matching the value that is saved in a database. So before we didn't validate or we didn't assert that all those values matched, and now we do. So that is a good strengthening of our test coverage. Will help JSON API indirectly as well. Config entity support, which Daniel has been pushing forward, is still moving forward, albeit at a slightly slower pace at this point. And a bunch more issues are RTBC. And finally, the very important issue about being able to upload files is actually moving forward again. So Acquia is sponsoring Damien Lee, Damien Kloip on Drupal.org's time again, to help him be able to work on various REST issues. So also the REST plus views issues are moving forward again, thanks to that. So nothing enormous. Most people, I think, are focusing on other things for now, but still some good progress.
Cool, that's awesome. does that mean that we will have some sort of permission to upload files, or is it solved in some other way?
It's been a week since I looked at it. It moved forward on the technical implementation side. I forget what the deal is with the permission aspect, because yeah, I know that was a huge thing to find the right balance in, but I can't answer that right now.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. I just assume that you always have Drupal.org dumped in your head, which is not fair, I guess. In the meantime, if you're using JSON API module, if you're watching this and you're using the JSON API module, there is one contrib that sits on top of JSON API, or aside to JSON API, which is called JSON API files, which will allow you to upload files using media entity wrapper. So wrapping a media entity, that's the magic in there. Yeah, looking forward to that. Does anyone have any other topics that they want to discuss at this point?
You mentioning media actually made me think of one thing that we discussed last week on this call, which is the fact that the media module in Drupal core is a thing. And one of the things that it also implies is that there is REST support, at least the default generated one. That one is actually the last issue, the one I just pasted. That is the last issue that is blocking, or that is considered to be blocking, potentially a blocker for media to become stable. Sally, who is also on this call just now, she brought up the fact that the normalization of media is, let's call it a gentle less than great. And unfortunately, it means that media, if we stabilize it as it is today, it will mean that we will have to continue to work with that for the foreseeable future. So that is another thing that has been happening, finding the right balance of supporting what exists already for sites using media and contrib, which includes install profiles like Thunder, which includes default media content. So the default content module uses the normalization system as well. And so if we ship with media, but not normalizers for media, then that means that technically they would need to install a contrib module to continue to do that, or not be able to do it at all. On the other hand, it would mean that we're not locked into the less than great normalization that we have today. And so there's active discussion happening on that issue. And I see now that there have been more comments in the last few days that I still need to catch up on, even though I followed up over the weekend. So I'm behind, but that is, if people have thoughts about that, I guess that issue is definitely one you should be following. So that's issue 2835767.
Awesome. That is great to know. Which kind of brings to the table something that I wanted to update today, which is related to end images, etc. I was thinking about how big of a blocker it is today to not be able to access image style. I'm debating in between the balance of serving the consumers in the sense that they need to be able to get performant images and assets, but also creating image styles as they are in Drupal right now. It means that the server needs to be aware of the presentation layer, which in a decoupled scenario, it may not even be possible if you just have a public API. But anyways, I am planning to sprint on that for decoupled Drupal Dev Days and give some sort of support in the same way that we have support for the download URL for images right now, with the hope of deprecating that whenever REST catches up with the default normalizers. Does anyone have any thoughts about this? Do you think it's a good idea to add image styles URLs? We should not add them all, but some sort of configuration to let users opt in, or
image styles are a feature of Drupal, and not exposing them is weird conceptually. I also think that Drupal should not be responsible for resizing images because there are probably 500 million both services and tools out there which do a better job in that. I think best practice on the long run would be, at least for decoupled sites, to not use image styles. But given that we have image styles, we should expose them, because there are those use cases where you have an existing Drupal site and where it's normal to have like image styles, and then you just want to have a decoupled thing on top of it. And there probably image styles really make sense. Or you just render a part of the site using a decoupled approach, and then image styles would be really helpful.
I've done the whitelisting method before on a decoupled site, and it's fine. It definitely makes the build much less complex in an already potentially complex scenario, but it wasn't the best experience. Although we actually did this in settings.php on Drupal 7, and then in developer mode it would just bypass all of that. So when you're working locally, you could get all the ones you want. But yeah, it does sort of add some kind of coupling, but it's loose enough that I think it's fine.
Yeah, some solution that I was thinking, it kind of goes in those lines. I was thinking that for development, maybe it is a good idea to be able to just have your local Drupal install deal with all of that, and then in production switch to Cloudinary or Akamai or whatever the service of those 500 millions that Daniel was saying you have. Ideally, the client code should not change. So something like a library that abstracts some of these services, probably the popular ones like Cloudinary, and then adds the option to use the Drupal image styles somehow. That would be great. So you could have some sort of configuration in your client and point to Drupal and be able to play in development, and then in production, you know that you're using the CDN high availability thing that resizes based on, I don't know, face detection croppings, which is a thing. So yeah, there's a lot to do around that, and I think that it's one of the big gaps, but I guess that I will leave that for the consumer developers, which I know that there are a bunch here. Do anyone of you, Joao, Matt, Sally, Jan, Daniel, have opinions on how lacking this is or how important this is for you?
I would say I don't have an opinion necessarily on the exact solution at this point, but I do know that images are becoming a sticking point on Contenta Angular. It's pretty much our biggest performance concern at this point.
Images meaning that you're currently loading all original images?
Yeah, exactly.
Way too large. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, some sort of Jan saying in the chat that he would like to have some sort of image styles as a service, which I think is the point. I know it is something that at least the poor man's solution of a small site, I don't have budget to buy any of these services or to run my own infrastructure to put some of the tools in production, it would be fine to offer that solution. I don't plan to add this by default in JSON API. It would be in JSON API extras for anything. And then it will just trickle in when it comes from core. I know how that will work.
I have a question about image styles in general. Does someone understand exactly why this token is added to the image style URL? How does it exactly work, or what, against which security problems does it actually protect you?
It was added because it was possible to, so without that query string, which by the way you can disable, so you can choose to opt out from it in settings.php, or at least you could in Drupal 7, and I think you still can in Drupal 8, because it was added to Drupal 7 at some point pretty far in the release cycle. The reason it was added is that you were able to create a derivative, so the image style. You could create a derivative of every image style. So it's possible that you, say, have 10 different image styles, and you are only actually using 2 particular image styles for every image. Because there was no protection, it was actually possible for even images that didn't have any image styles or were only intended to be used with a particular image style. Because, for example, some images are uploaded in field A and others in field B, and fields A and B have different image styles associated with them because they represent different things, for example. So that meant that you could, without any particular knowledge about either site, you could just look at the URLs, see which image styles existed, and then cause additional disk space to be consumed, which in and of itself is not a problem, but apparently for some sites, this became actually a very big problem. And so to protect those some sites, this was added to all of Drupal. So to protect against the ability to generate lots of derivatives of files, basically.
Right, because conceptually, if we would expose something like that via REST, there is no way around basically not protecting that anymore. Because it's up to
because
the
you have to provide every image style for every image?
Yeah, because it's up to the client deciding which image styles they want for which image.
Right. Yeah.
So you basically, like conceptually, you couldn't prevent that problem anymore.
You couldn't protect against it, really. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I personally
Even
never thought it was a really good idea.
Solution. It's like conceptual, just not longer possible. I mean, maybe you could say it on the field level, like on the image field level. These images.
Yeah, that would be expressing presentation in the field. I agree. It may not be fixable, and none of these external services fix it. But it's a problem that we don't have to deal with. So if they don't fix it, we don't care all that much. So the solution is just to sweep under the rug. Maybe that's it. We should just disable it and have some sort of on-demand querying of image styles. Image styles, the configuration entity, is accessible. So something could be done in that sense, like explore which one fits you best, and then have that generated, something like that.
There's also nothing preventing us from providing kind of an image style service, I think, which is what people were suggesting here, in the sense that instead of configuring an image style first as a site builder, and you have to go through the UI and so on, you could be offering the ability to specify an image style just through the URL query strings to say, for example, first scale down, then crop to this size and transform to black and white. Like all of those things that you can do with image style config, I think it could be sensible to move that to the query string and to have that as a separate module that you offer
that's what I did with the project I mentioned earlier. Like having to create image styles manually was a pain, so we made it dynamic through the URL, and then we still whitelisted it in settings.php afterwards, so that you couldn't keep just like requesting infinite widths of images. But at least it made it easy to just like add one line to settings.php to get what you want.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you could even record which image styles you use during development, and then store that in configuration. And then
so basically allow certain values for each one.
Wim, please talk.
I said, so basically whitelisting specific values for each possible transformation, or whitelisting a particular series of steps in settings and then disallowing anything else. Is that what this sounds like? It doesn't matter that much anyway. It's an implementation.
Yeah.
I think this is
but the question why I asked earlier, or the reason why I asked earlier, there is no way to protect in this kind of module to protect against those kind of DDoS attacks.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I know that this topic like filled up most of our time, but I think that it's an important one. Definitely for me, because I'm going to be sprinting on this. I want to provide a good solution. We can just move on, and so this is not a problem anymore. I want to give an outlet for an update on the state of the distributions. Ted, Wim, do you have something about Reservoir that you want to announce?
This is the answer, I think. We basically have been all in on experimental stuff and getting that ready for 8.4. So we've basically not had any time. At least I haven't. I think Ted has either.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
All right.
I read something about Lightning. Like there was an issue in the Lightning queue about doing something decoupled there as well. Are you involved in that?
I talked to Adam Honich, Free Proxima, about it briefly. So he was just mildly aware of what we're doing in Reservoir and not aware of what you guys are doing in Contenta. So I pointed him to Contenta and also to JSON API, to the fact that we're not doing REST in Reservoir, and neither is Contenta. So yeah, he was interested in at least exposing for now just the entities via Contenta, or sorry, via JSON API, and Lightning heavily uses media. So I don't know if he's planning on doing that before. I'm assuming he's going to wait till 8.4 till the changes to media in core. I wouldn't want to do it twice. So yeah, that's all. That's sort of, yeah, I think basically he's just trying to figure out what the possible path is for exposing stuff. And possible, Lightning has something called subprofiles that I don't really know. I've never really messed around with it, but the idea that you could choose a subprofile in Lightning. So I guess that's one possibility, but yeah, he hasn't really, that's all I know so far.
Given that Lightning probably keeps the backward compatibility around, does it solve that? Does it mean that Lightning will solve API versioning for us?
I'm clapping here, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. You can count on that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good to know.
We need to encode more of these kind of big problems that the world needs to be solved, and then shove it down somebody else's throat.
Yeah. Since this is being broadcast and available later, I should say no. Lightning is not going to solve API version. Just in case, I don't want to.
That is a safe answer.
Did you see the issue I opened about that, by the way?
Yeah, I replied to that. I'm not sure if you can hear me at this point.
I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I opened your Dropbox link, and then I'm unable to go back to the Hangouts page on Safari. So,
Oh, wow. We can see
yeah.
you just fine. Hear you just
Okay.
fine.
Cool. Yeah, I commented on that. Probably not even worth talking about that comment. It's not that interesting. I do want to. I know that we are 1 minute over. I do want to say a couple of things about Contenta. This happened a couple of weeks ago. I copied a lot of the Reservoir UI module into Contenta with the intent to see which parts I needed to adapt, and therefore which parts can be abstracted, and it can fall under the umbrella of common effort. So I think it would be awesome if we were able to say that Contenta is using Reservoir UI. I think it would be great, and it would show the spirit of collaboration that we have going on. And also,
Awesome.
I know that. Sorry, Wim, go ahead.
I said awesome.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I know that we are at a point in Contenta that Jan, he's like going. I cannot catch up with him, and he's going too fast. And we are at a point where we need to figure out how to replicate the feature of custom blocks in Page with a decoupled architecture. And we have the concept of embeddables, but I'm not really sure how the details of how implementing that works. And we also need content for that. So sorry, Jan, I know it's taking too long. I ask patience, and we'll probably have some sort of solution. Also, if you're listening to this, we need articles about food for the Contenta stuff, the demo content. So if you know of any that are free to use, Creative Commons stuff, that would be awesome, and it would probably make Jan happy because the Vue and the Elm consumers, I think that Daniel is also at that point as well, are both waiting for content to move in that direction. So yeah, that's my 2-minute update. Anyone else?
You're looking for recipes. Like, yeah, that's the most atypical Drupal contribution I've ever heard of, I think.
Yeah, we kind of have recipes, but the out-of-the-box initiative has the concept of magazine articles. So, like, probably like summaries of multiple recipes, or like features here. I don't know, like here are my 5 favorite pasta recipes, or something like that. In case someone knows something, maybe there are blogs out there. Yeah,
I think it's a bit like the Serious Eats articles, like really long form contents, like explaining how you could make chili in only 48 hours.
Yeah. Oh, how delicious is sugar, and how you don't care about how bad it is for your health. Well, maybe not that article, but anyways.
I mean, one thing you could do is you could import Wikipedia articles about different cuisines, like say Thai cuisine, and then if they're tagged with Thai, if your recipes are also tagged with Thai cuisine and the article, then somehow you join those up.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. I know nothing about importing content from Wikipedia. I don't know if we can scrape it or we can just download the articles. But
I was just Googling for Creative Commons recipes, and I came to find this site, foodista.com, which apparently is Creative Commons licensed recipes. We should double check that is the case, but they seem to have quite a bit.
Yeah, at this point we have 200 recipes already, but we are lacking like this kind of articles to talk about stuff. Maybe lorem ipsum is good for now, and we can get things unblocked and then do more research. But anyways, thank you for the suggestions. And I don't want to take more of your time unless anyone has anything else to add. Okay, silent, awkward silent it is. I guess that means goodbye.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the update. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.